Pakistan is the sixth most populous country located in South Asia, and it is neighbored with India, China, Afghanistan, and Iran. So the National Financial Inclusion Strategy was framed by Government of Pakistan in 2015, targeting to achieve certain goals of financial inclusion in up to 2020. Let us have a look first at the access to financial services 2015 compared with 2008. So there has been a progress in access to financial services, and that have increased from 12% to 23% for formal financial services acquired by the people in Pakistan. So adult population having account in a bank that has increased from 11 to 16%, although it is much behind the South Asian percentage. Then access to other formal services, including microfinance, bank, and MFIs, that has increased from 1 to 7%. The women access has also increased from 4 to 11% over a period of 7 to 8 years, but still it is lagging behind South Asian standard, that is 70%, 37%. The informally served population has decreased. This is another point of progress, from 32 to 24%. And this statistics is better than the South Asia, which is 42%. The financially excluded, although marginally, there is some improvement, and the population has been reduced from 56 to 53%. The National Financial Inclusion Strategy, adopted in 2015 in collaboration with the World Bank. So it has set certain goals, which include the improving inclusive economic growth to enhance income and livelihood opportunities for poor and marginalized groups, including women and youth in Pakistan. The second goal refers to the exploring innovative interventions in rural financing, Islamic banking, and low-income housing. The third goal that identifies and pursues the productive partnership of the commercial banks with the microfinance sector. So that is downscaling of the commercial banking. And finally, it looks for establishing Islamic finance education and research infrastructure in collaboration with the higher education institutions in Pakistan. And that has to meet the gap in the trained manpower, and particularly with respect to the Islamic financial institutions. The key actions suggested in the strategy, they refer to promoting digital transaction accounts, which is actually growing through the branchless banking and also the fintechs recently introduced in Pakistan. And it has to be the expanding and diversifying the access points, improving capacity of financial service providers, and increasing the level of financial awareness. The State Bank of Pakistan, the central bank of the country, has provided enabling environment to achieve the goals of National Financial Inclusion Strategy. And the State Bank's three-pronged strategy that consists of creating an enabling legal and regulatory framework, implementing policy initiatives to enhance credit market information and infrastructure, and building partnerships and alliances for capacity building and advocacy of financial inclusion agenda. The prominent actions of the State Bank, they actually consist of mandating banks to open 20% of branches in rural areas, and this regulation was introduced in 2005. So it may be noted that the State Bank of Pakistan is striving for financial inclusion since 2008 with the access to finance study, and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy has been taken up in 2015. Branchless banking regulations were introduced in 2008. Microfinance Credit Information Bureau for risk management of the microfinance sector, that was introduced in 2011. And nationwide financial literacy program was taken up since 2012. Biometric infrastructure and real-time account opening, that was introduced. And the payment system through one link enabling ATMs and point of sale and interbank and transfer through M-Wallet in 2017. Government of Pakistan became the member Better Than Cash Alliance in 2015, and it operated its G2P, that is government to person payments. Then Asan Easy Account, so with minimum balance requirement, and the deposit was introduced in 2015. Credit enhancement facilities and credit guarantee schemes for SMEs and microfinance. Then there was also the initiative on policy of digital transaction accounts that was approved in 2017, and it is now operative. Now let us have a look at the financial inclusion strategy broader target for 2020. So the percent of adult with transaction account has to be increased to 50% from the current 16%. And percent of women transaction accounts, they have to reach 25% as against current 11%. And percent adult with who saved at the formal financial institution in the past year, that is very low, 3% currently, and it has to reach 10%. Similarly, the percent of SME loans to total bank loans in private sector, so they have to increase from 70% to 15%. So let us now have the specific sub-financial sector-wise initiatives that have been taken by the government as well as the State Bank of Pakistan and their progress. First one is the access to banking services. So the Asan account has facilitated addition of 2.60 million accounts in the banking system as of June 2017. So this is tremendous achievement. A rationalization of Nadra verification cost that has been reduced to only rupees 10. It is $0.1, you can understand. So this actually helps very low cost, know your customer for the Asan accounts. Then Asan mobile account has been introduced in January 2018. It is the most recent development in which all those having basic mobile phone would be able, with the help of their service provider, to open their digital account, keep deposit, and carry out transactions. Then the Pakistan Financial Inclusion and Infrastructure Project was introduced with US $137 million with the grant of World Bank, and to increase the institutional capacity of micro and small and medium enterprises. The second, microfinance. Microfinance bank ordinance, they were introduced, and which has enabled 11 microfinance banks to be established in Pakistan. Microfinance credit guarantee scheme was an incentive for the commercial banks to finance the microfinance bank and microfinance institutions. And it has also achieved rupees 18 billion of funds borrowed from these institutions to service 700,000 micro borrowers. Then institutional strengthening fund was meant for capacity building and introduced in 2008. And it has disbursed grants for 26 projects for 15 MFIs and microfinance banks. The grassroots level training programs, where 40 such training programs have been conducted, and Microcredit Information Bureau. So this actually ensures robust risk management system and practices and keep all the information of the past and the microfinance clients in the with the Credit Information Bureau. Number 3 is the SME finance. So the scheme was introduced in 2016, and rupees 500 billion were disbursed in 2017. So this is first time that the Credit Advisory Committee of State Bank of Pakistan has given targets to the commercial banks for the financing of SMEs. That is why you can see that there is 25% rise in disbursement over 2016. Credit Guarantee Scheme for SME and rural enterprises introduced in 2010 is still another incentive to the banks, where the losses up to 40% are borne by the State Bank of Pakistan. The loss compensation rises to 60% when the loans are advanced to the women. Prime Minister's Youth Business Loan Scheme. So it has disbursed 21 billion rupees to 20,500 youth projects. Again, the Prime Minister's Interest-Free Loan Scheme, introduced in 2013, so has disbursed 9.5 million for over 400,000 borrowers, 64% of them women. Refinancing facility of modernization. So this is balancing modernization and replacement of the machinery of the SMEs. So at very concessional rates, so 9.5 billion have been provided by State Bank of Pakistan. Then refinancing facility for SME melas. These are expos which have been held in different countries, and also the SME web portal has been prepared and is available for all types of information on account of loans and other related matters regarding SMEs. Branchless banking is perhaps the most successful initiative, where with the introduction of the branchless banking regulation in 2008, have been able to introduce 11 microfinance and commercial banking models in association with the telephone companies. The Financial Innovation Challenge Fund of pound sterling 10 billion as a grant from the TFIT. So it has enabled the government of Pakistan for payments of its pension, employees' old age benefits, salaries, and welfare pursuits through G2P. So only the Benazir Income Support Program, which is a welfare initiative of the government of Pakistan, it has benefited 6 million beneficiaries with 115 billion Pakistan rupees. The other initiatives, they refer to the internally displaced person from the Waziristan, which is actually the target of the terrorism. Then Watan Card, which is compensation for the flood affected areas, and Baitul Mal payments, all are available through the mobile phone networks. Then pilot project for digital credit for microfinance borrowers, that was introduced in 2016, and nationwide capacity building of branchless banking agents. These are the private people who act as the agent of the branchless banking, and certain training programs were delivered to them. Now this is actually statistics, and you can see that how the branchless banking has progressed in Pakistan. So the number of agents have increased by 269% over the last 4 years, And number of accounts, they have increased by 452%. Similarly, deposits, they have increased by 474%. And number of transactions during the years, they have increased over 4 years by 186%. And value of transaction during the year, that has increased from 225, and average size of the bank of the branchless banking transaction, that has increased by 10%. The agriculture finance. So the initiative was actually taken in 2014 through the second financial inclusion fund, and the different products. In fact, this fund actually invited various practitioners of the microfinance as well as the agriculture finance to bring up the innovations in product development and the structures of the model. And they prescribed certain prices of $100,000 per project. And these projects, they consisted of the value chain financing, warehouse receipt financing, Islamic microfinance, and price information, etc. The livestock loan insurance scheme was available to the livestock loans up to 5 million Pak rupees. And the borrowers were covered against death of animals due to disease, flood, heavy rains, windstorm, etc. The crop loan insurance scheme was introduced in 2008 for 5 major crops: these are wheat, rice, sugarcane, cotton, and maize. And the government of Punjab has recently introduced e-credit scheme for small farmers. So through the branchless banking, they are disbursing credit to the small farmers owning up to 5 acres of land in irrigated and 10 acres of land in rain-fed areas. Islamic finance, actually, it's initiative that starts from the issuance of the Sharia governance framework for better understanding among the general public, as well as helping the Islamic banks to improve Sharia compliance of their products and services. Then strategic plan for banking industry, that was meant for the general awareness of the public. Then third, FICF round, which was the collaboration of the State Bank of Pakistan with the higher education institutions. 3 centers of excellence have been established at Lahore University of Management Sciences and Institute of Business Administration, Karachi, and IMS Peshawar. These institutions or Center of Excellence, they are mandated for providing the research in Islamic finance, products development, as well as the higher education leading towards masters and PhD in Islamic banking and finance. Then State Bank also introduced in 2007 the guidelines for disbursing finance to the micro enterprises by the Islamic banks. And there has been a downward revision of the capital requirement from 10 billion to 6 billion rupees for the Islamic banking subsidiaries. So one of the subsidiary, that is MCB Bank, Islamic banking subsidiary, has already been established, whereas the subsidiary of Al-Awal Islamic is preparing to be established. The financial literacy is another important area which has been helpful in increasing financial inclusion. So it was started in 2011, and pilot project was introduced in 2014 for educating 50,000 people. The target is to educate 1 million people in the basic financial education. Child and youth financial literacy program has to be introduced in fall semester 2018 in the universities as well as in the schools. And the farmers' financial literacy is also one of the initiatives which has already been taken. Housing finance, so particularly the affordable housings. So Pakistan Mortgage and Refinance Company has been established. Although it has not yet started its functions, it is being capitalized by the State Bank of Pakistan, the Government of Pakistan, and the commercial banks. But the main purpose of this company would be to provide and arrange long-term financing through long-term bonds and leveraging the financial market. Since the house mortgages, they always are long-term from 10 to 25 years, so the appetite of the banks is not enough to finance these long-term mortgages. That is why this company has been established. Then there has been amendment in prudential regulations and also the consumer awareness sessions on house financing for the general public. The consumer empowerment and the protection is meant primarily for the dispute resolution between banks and their customers, and also the transparency in pricing of different products, particularly in case of microfinance, where effective rates of financing are very high as compared to the commercial banks. Green banking initiative is another initiative, and the State Bank of Pakistan has introduced this scheme in 2017, where the financing up to 6 billion at a subsidized rate of 6% will be available for 12 years. So that is up to 50 megawatt hydro, solar, wind, biomass-based energy. Then two banks are also negotiating with the Green Climate Fund for their accreditation. So this is an overall picture. We can see that the microfinance growth 2013 to 16 has been 180%, and number of borrowers, they have increased 59%, SMEs 71%, and finance, the number of borrowers 23%, agriculture finance 10%, and borrowers, they have decreased by 28%, Islamic finance 105% financing and 104% deposits, and housing finance 33% financing, and number of borrowers also here have decreased by 15%. A new area, the fintech startups, they are also playing a role in elsewhere for financial inclusion, and this is very new in Pakistan. And December 2017 is in fact the start of these fintechs in Pakistan. Although these are the non-bank companies, but State Bank of Pakistan has issued regulation for the supervision of these fintechs. The first microfinance non-bank company, that is Tez Financial Services, and it has to provide loans up to 10,000 rupees. Then Credit Fix is a company which is providing the higher amount of finance, that is up to 2.5 million Pakistan rupees. E-Challan, this is one P2G, that is person to government transaction, that has already been introduced for the last 1 year in the provinces of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Sindh, where the police tickets are being paid by the violators, and through the branchless banking. And there has been efficiency as well, that the collected amount that has been increased from 45% since 2009, indicating reduced collection leakages. SimSim M Wallet is very new product. So it has been designed by the Finca Microfinance Bank, where anyone having basic mobile connection would be able to operate this, and the FinCA will disburse its credit and receive deposits through this technology. The conclusions. Branchless banking is the fastest growing financial subsector. The fintechs, although startups, are expected to fetch the market swiftly and help enhance financial inclusion at a rapid pace. The financial literacy is proving helpful to enhance financial inclusion. The conventional microfinance has received attention of international donors and has achieved regulatory and operational and innovative transformation. Islamic microfinance has not been emphasized in NFIS, whereas this sector remains neglected, even in view of overwhelming demand of Islamic financial services that is been computed by State Bank of Pakistan in 2014. That is 95% of banked and 98% of unbanked customers, 95% in rural areas and 73% in urban areas. When Islamic microfinance institutions, IMFIs, suffer from paucity of funds, product concentration, lack of scale and outreach, and gross finance portfolio, they lose sustainability operationally and financially. And there is only one out of 16 Islamic microfinance providers, that is a Huwa, which is sustaining and also sharing the market to the extent of 89% of the total gross financial portfolio as well as the clients. The downscaling of Islamic banks is required through linkages with Islamic microfinance institutions to cater financial Sharia advisory and product development support. As a matter of fact, otherwise too, the Islamic banks, they have to dispense the social responsibility out of Maqasid Sharia and provide linkages to the Islamic microfinance institution for the growth of the Islamic microfinance. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Khaleequzzaman. This was a presentation about what is happening in the financial inclusion. So this is an update session, and if there are any questions, we're here to answer or give clarification on the issue shortly covered.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the presentation. Two things came to mind during the presentation. One is about the credit guarantee scheme. Could you give a bit more insight on how it was designed and whether it's effective? Because this many countries it's very difficult and usually it's not very effective. So maybe I'd like to have your opinion on the situation in Pakistan. The second interesting thing I'd like hope that you can shed light on is on the market in Pakistan. There are two types of microfinance. Islamic microfinance institution. One you have predominantly the interest free, which is Al-Awal, and you also have other NGOs which are doing Salam and doing Murabaha and all these other type of non-interest free or more private profit models. So did you see any change, distortion of the market or any form of, and how these two markets maybe interact with one another? Do you see any comments or any, what's your observation when you see these two type of offerings in the market? Thank you.
Should I take a few questions and then ask you? Can we take a few more questions and then we take a few more questions and then allow other respondents to respond? Please. Turn on the microphone.
It doesn't work. So I think you show that there's only 60% of citizens in the bank accounts. There's a very optimistic target in 2020. It's going to be 50%. Do you have any survey data why citizens do not have a bank account? Maybe it's costly, or they don't need banking, or they don't really want banks because they do more informal sector. before getting. So do you have any that kind of data, especially survey? Similar also for the SMEs, they get only 7% of the bank loans. I think it's all commercial loans. 7% of all commercial loans. This is like maybe they don't need like more. Is it reason or they apply but they cannot get it? We have any data for them? Maybe yearly. So what are the main reasons? I know that people may think that you have to survey data.
Like take more questions, or this is enough for you right now?
Okay.
I will come back again. Have one round so that he can concentrate on a few questions first and then.
Mr. Hassan, so the credit guarantee schemes for the microfinance and also for the SMEs, they have been introduced with grant from DFID, and the schemes are progressing quite well. And since you know that the recovery rates in microfinance or the collection rates in microfinance are more than 98%. So that is why there are very few default cases which you can see in case of the microfinance. However, the default or the bad loans, they are experienced more in case of the SMEs. But still, the due diligence and the better processing techniques of the SMEs, they have actually helped to operate the scheme for credit guarantee in SMEs as well. So there are no issues whatsoever which have been observed till now. Your other question that relates to the Ahuat and also the other products which have been operated by Vasil Foundation. So these are actually two models. One is based on charity, and that is Qarz-e Hasan of the Ahuat. And this is, you know, that very viable and overwhelming MFI. The government is also disbursing its own resources through this. So 2 years back, the government of Punjab, which is a provincial government, they have also contributed 3 billion rupees to Ahuat. So it is sustaining operationally as well as financially, because the donations, the substantial amount of donations has been collected. And they have also introduced another mechanism in which all these who are getting the Qarz-e Hasan, they are also contributing towards the administrative cost of from 5 to 6% of their loan amount, which is already allowed by the office standard on Qarz-e Hasan. The Vasil Foundation, it actually has also won $100,000 prize for its products of Ijara and Salam. So Vasil Foundation is not a charity organization. This actually is for-profit institution, and it takes up the clients as its business cases. So both of them, if I compare both of them, still I can see that the microfinance should look at the business case when some of the products of the Vasil Foundation are based on Qarz-e Hasan. However, the other institutions, they actually concentrate more in Murabha. However, still there are 2 or 3 institutions which are practicing Mudarba with their female clients by providing them the milk and the fattening animals. So, the other brother, he actually asked about that whether the access to financial services is based on certain surveys, or is there any data available on this? Yes. The State Bank of Pakistan, again in collaboration with DFID and Pakistan Microfinance Network, they have conducted 2 studies. Access to Financial Services 1 in 2008 and access to financial services too in 2014. And there is a as you can see that there is very clear progress between the two studies. These were the countrywide surveys, right? And also the health of the service was evaluated by the third party. Now, your other question that relates to the SME financing, which is 7% of the total financing in private sector. So unfortunately, the SME financing could not grow in the past for the very reason that the SMEs are financed on the basis of their cash flows. These businesses are not strong enough to provide the collateral. That is why the banks they were not inclined to finance them. Now, since the credit guarantee scheme has been introduced for the SMEs, that is why it is expected that this 7% would grow in the future years. And you can see that there is a very prominent rise from 2000 to 2017 in financing of SMEs, that is 25%. So it is hoped that it will also progress.
My question about, like, I understand you did the survey, but in this survey, you ask the citizens, like, why you don't have a bank account?
Yes.
Maybe they don't transfer. So is it reason, or maybe it's so expensive because of the cost? Do you have that kind of data? So because you said the target is
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
And similar also SMEs, maybe SMEs,
yeah.
Some of the SMEs from one bank.
Yeah. You see that the 60% of the population in Pakistan that lives in the rural and the remote areas, they have not even seen the banks, and they have the hesitation to get into the banking environment. So that is why the Asan account has been introduced, in where the officers of the bank, they actually go for the contact to these agriculture and remote areas. And also they have actually introduced the agency type relationship for contact to this population. So it is hoped that the accounts they will, and you can see this very interesting figure that 2.60 million accounts have been added to the banking sector from 2015. So it is a period of say less than 2 years in which these accounts there. Now, in Asan account doesn't ask for the certification of your income. It does not ask for the other paperworks. So it is simply the national identity card which is given to the bank, and they, with the portal of the NADRA, that is National Database Registration Authority, they get bona fides of them, and they simply open the account with 100 rupees. So all those people, freelance operators and shopkeepers and others who did not have the certification of their income, they have now been able to become the member of the banking community.
Yes, let's take some more questions.
First of all, thank you very much for a very good presentation, Dr. Santos. I really was happy to see that lots of different financial inclusion schemes across channels were being discussed. Just getting back to your last point about the Asan account, or even the Benazir income support program, my understanding is that they have drastically helped in bringing down at least the unbanked population. It used to be 100 million until recently.
Yes.
Which was 5% of the total global population.
Yes, of course.
Of the total unbanked.
That is in Pakistan.
So, if I'm correct, it's around 18% now. It used to be 14% earlier. So, those inclusion is happening. So, coming to the good, interesting solutions, I understand that entities like EasyPesa, branchless banking you mentioned, was a fantastic area of growth. What sort of challenges, regulatory or otherwise, are entities like EasyPesa facing right now? because they are probably on the cusp of going completely mainstream. They're not yet. It seems that they are getting there. But what would be required from other stakeholders for entities like these to really take process banking nationwide and not just concentrated in certain pockets?
Yes, of course, that is already the agenda of the State Bank of Pakistan. And the introduction of the agents that has been facilitated with the pre-regulation in 2011, and the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, the mobile telephone operators, and the microfinance banks and the commercial banks, they have come at one platform, and they are really into the launch of this facility nationwide.
Thank you very much, Professor for guide us in the case of Pakistan financial inclusions and these very important topics now for the sustainable development. And particularly, we are going also to reflect Islamic financial inclusion in these countries. As clearly from you right up, you are concentrating on the financial inclusion part, but to have the whole pictures based on the mention of brothers, the financial capability is very important. You reflect 60% are rulers, and being access to finance is not enough. We have to see also the other side, the financial capability, because you may access them to finance, but they may not use it if the knowledge of using this utilization, this finance is very important. So the capability of the 60% is very important, and how to uplift them to the level that when they are made access to finance, they can use the finance in a proper way. So I think that part also you need to credit in research, so the research will give clear and then right solutions. Thank you. Just a question.
Yeah.
Presentation is not working, so I hope you can hear me. I think my question sounds sort of like what we call exactly. When you see there are 2.6 million accounts are opened, so for what reason? For the sake of opening the account, or for what? So what is the impact? What is actually your contribution to this people? Because 2.6 million is not small numbers. How many percent of this account active? So do we have any? Because for bank to hold this kind of funds, actually is a heavy burden if they are not active.
Yes, one.
Yeah.
There is one brother behind hiding.
But I have another question. I was reading in your statistics that financial inclusion for women increased from 4% to 11% over the course of 2008 to 2016. I was more interested to figure out, for example, how did the gender gap in financial inclusion change at that time? And if it has widened or narrowed in that time? And if financial inclusion measures are taking into account things like trying to incorporate gender-specific issues, for example. I saw that there are a couple of programs on financial literacy, and they seem to kind of on the general side of things. One is geared towards youth and children, and one is just a general financial literacy program. Do any of them consider gender-specific issues?
Question is about the gender gap and how much the financial inclusion programs are focused on financial literacy programs are focused on increasing the literacy, because he has attended programs which are mostly journal type. They are not very specific.
Yes, brother Zahi. So there is, I agree that there is a need of research, as you have suggested, and the other question that relates to whether all these accounts are active or just the accounts have been opened. So I don't have the statistics whether what is the proportion of accounts which have been active, but still it is encouraging that a large number of accounts they have been opened, and at least a sizable proportion has been included in the banking admit, which actually was not possible previously, and that is because of this initiative. The financial literacy programs, which brother you were actually mentioning, that they are of general type and they do not provide specific information. So I have just mentioned in my presentation that the Consumer Protection Department has been established in this Central Directorate of State Bank of Pakistan, and they, in collaboration with the Financial Literacy Program, they provide a lot of information to the respondents or to the audience, not only regarding basic financial concepts like budgeting, deposits, savings, etc., but also the rights and liabilities which the consumers they have to observe, and also the transparency and the prices of the financial products. So the financial literacy program, it includes these elements as well, in addition to the general education.
I mean, does it have any focus on gender-specific issues? For example, women face specific kind of drawbacks when accessing financial services compared to men, especially in maybe, let's say, patriarchal societies like Pakistan. It's difficult for women to access finance for various reasons. For example, if you want to loan, you probably have to show some collateral, and as a woman, you probably don't have access to that kind of collateral to obtain a loan. So issues like that, are they being looked at when we're considering financial inclusion? Because inclusion for women and men are quite different.
Yeah.
This is part of financial capability indicator.
Yeah. And
financial literacy, financial protections, all this part of the financial capability. So if he look at it, included in the research, then they will see where the shortcomings, whether it's women's need certain products, certain financial literacy specifically, or even men's. But generally, he says 60% of the rural area, they may not carry, even if they are made access to finance. So the capability elements need to be included. It need to be very, then building capacity will come later on.
But your point is quite significant, since gender segregated societies, they actually demand different treatment for the women folk. So that is why the financial literacy program they actually made different groups to contact the women in Pakistan and also in the rural and remote areas. The pilot which was introduced in 2014, so that has been evaluated by the third party, and they have also suggested certain other elements of the financial literacy program which have to be included in the main launch.
Thank you. As a coordinator, I have certain questions as well. Short questions, but so there is no sequence. I will just throw 3 or 4 questions. One is that you mentioned about FIIP, that financial inclusion and infrastructure projects, with the $137 million for small and microfinance projects that started in 2018, January 2018. So if there are any details that you have on that you would like to share, this is one question. Second is about, we talked about so many different schemes, as if Pakistan has become, everything is financially included now. So with these so many schemes, what is the coordination between these different things that are taking place in different areas and different sectors? The third is that any impact evaluation studies and how exactly they have been done. Some of these things have already been asked over here. That it is not simply how many accounts we have opened and how much money is loaned out, but whether the impact is being felt or not. So, if there are any studies on those aspects. One good thing that can be, when you mentioned that Asan account has been opened, or these accounts which are just based on mobile telephones, and account based on national identity card that you can open. So one possibility is to start the card distribution using that. So even the accounts that are dormant, which are not functional, will become functional, because people will receive zakat through the zakat directorate or the zakat ministry into such accounts. That may increase the financial inclusion, because people will, these are certain observations and questions.
The financial inclusion and infrastructure project that was introduced in late 2017 with the funding of US dollar 137 million from the World Bank. So it has to actually increase the capacity of the loan officers, as well as the processing mechanism of the micro and small and micro enterprises. Yes, so many schemes they have been introduced, and whether any evaluation study has been undertaken or not yet in many cases. But as I have mentioned, that the financial literacy program that has been evaluated by third party in 2015. Whether the impact of these studies is there, so it is yet a question to be answered, since the State Bank of Pakistan has introduced this inclusion program in 2015, and only 1.5 years has been passed. Your suggestion regarding zakat distribution through mobile phones is a very good suggestion. Till to date, the Baitul Mal disbursements are being disbursed through mobile phones, but not the zakat distribution. The provincial, district, and tehsil and local zakat committees, they are responsible for the distribution of zakat, and many times the mechanism seems to be politicized, and there are instances that the eligible people, they are not financed by the zakat distribution. Yes, that should be there, and like Benazir income support program, Watan card, and the Baitul Mal card, these also should be distributed through certain standard technique, like the Benazir income support program actually finds the eligibility of the borrower through a scoring card. That scoring card can also be introduced for the zakat distribution.
Thank you. Any other question or anything? Then we'll close this session by thanking Dr. Khaleequzzaman for sharing information with us, and hopefully we'll join again with some other person on some other occasion for this seminar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm really thankful